Everybody is looking for the perfect escape, but what if the thing that saves you is also the thing that traps you? Welcome to Unveiling Secrets, The Housemaid's Dark Truth, by Freida McFadden. In this chilling psychological thriller, a desperate woman accepts a job that promises salvation, only to find herself entangled in a web of secrets, lies, and danger. In this video we'll summarize the book, explore its key themes, and uncover the secrets hidden within the Winchester mansion. Are you ready to discover what really happens behind closed doors? Let's dive in. It all began with a choice. Or maybe it wasn't a choice at all. I was living out of my car, a beat-up Nissan that smelled of stale coffee and desperation. Every night I'd park somewhere new, trying to disappear. My prison record followed me everywhere, slamming doors shut. I needed a job, I needed a lifeline. Then, the ad appeared. Live-in housemaid, generous pay, the Winchesters. The name sounded like old money. The interview was a blur. Nina Winchester sat across from me, flawless and brittle. She asked questions, but it felt like she already knew the answers. She offered me the job on the spot. Relief washed over me. A room, a bed, 3 meals a day. I ignored the voice warning me it was too good to be true. What choice did I have? Go back to the Nissan? No. I shook her hand and walked into the Winchester house, thinking I'd been saved. I had no idea I was stepping into a different kind of prison. The mansion was beautiful, imposing, a fortress of glass and stone. As I drove up the winding driveway, unease settled over me. The air was heavy, the silence too loud. I told myself it was just nerves. But even then I sensed something was off. This perfect house, this perfect family, they were hiding something. And I had just locked myself inside with their secrets. It was a gamble, and the stakes were higher than I could imagine. I wanted to believe I'd found a lifeline. But sometimes, the things that save you are the same things that trap you. I was about to learn that the hard way. The Winchesters had offered me a new life, but at what cost? Let's uncover the truth. My new room was in the attic, small, plain, but with a bed and a lock. At first the lock felt like comfort. Soon, I'd learn it meant something else. The rest of the house was a cold, beautiful cage. Andrew Winchester, the husband, was charming but always gone. Cecilia, their daughter, watched me in silence, her eyes too knowing for her age. Nina, my employer, was a storm. Praise one moment, rage the next. She made messes for me to clean, shifting moods like the wind. I tried to be patient, but the rules were strange. Clean every room but one. Lock my attic door at all times. Don't speak to Cecilia unless spoken to. Eat alone after the family. Each rule was a thread in a web, wrapping tighter around me. I was the help, but it felt like more than that. I was being isolated, controlled. The house was a stage, and I was cast in a role I didn't understand. The Winchester's secrets pressed in from every wall. I told myself to keep my head down. But the rules weren't just about order, they were about power, and I was starting to realize I was trapped. The attic lock wasn't for privacy, it was for containment. Days blurred together, each one a new test. Nina's cruelty escalated, accusations, impossible tasks, psychological warfare. I shrank under her scrutiny, whispering reassurances to myself in the attic. The isolation was crushing. Andrew was gone. Cecilia was a ghost. It was just me and Nina, locked in a silent battle. I noticed her flinching at Andrew's touch, the fear in her eyes, the way she stared at the garden. I found medication, pills for anxiety, for psychosis. It explained some things, but not the fear. Was she a monster or a victim? The lines blurred. My hope for a fresh start curdled into dread. The house felt like it was closing in, secrets poisoning the air. I started to feel like I was cleaning up a crime scene that hadn't happened yet. Every sound sent a jolt of adrenaline through me. I knew I should leave, but something kept me there. Morbid curiosity, a sense of responsibility, and a growing fear that leaving might be even more dangerous than staying. I was trapped in a game I didn't understand. The attic was my only refuge, but the lock on my door haunted me. It locked from the inside and the outside. Why would a room need to be locked from the outside? I couldn't ignore it anymore. One night, I picked the lock from the hallway, heart pounding. My room felt different, colder, stale. The window was sealed shut. Then I saw them. Deep scratches around the lock, gouged into the wood, fingernail marks. Someone had been trapped, desperately trying to get out. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a bedroom, it was a cell. The lock wasn't for my safety, it was to keep someone in. Had Nina locked a previous maid in here? All her strange behavior, her paranoia? It started to make sense. I was living in a cage that had held someone else. And the person with the key was the woman downstairs, watching my every move. I wasn't just an employee, I was a replacement. The truth was more terrifying than I'd imagined. I realized I was in real danger. The house wasn't just hiding secrets, it was hiding crimes. I thought Nina was the villain, but I was wrong. The truth came in a letter she hid for me, a desperate message from one prisoner to another. The scratches on the door weren't from a previous maid, they were hers. Nina had been locked in the attic, by Andrew. He drugged her, controlled her, destroyed her credibility. Her cruelty toward me was an act, a warning, a shield. She needed me to hate her, to want to leave, to save me from Andrew. He wanted a new victim, someone with a troubled past, someone no one would miss. Nina's abuse was a desperate attempt to protect me. The roles were reversed in an instant. Nina wasn't my tormentor, she was my protector. The locked doors, the rules, the surveillance, it was all Andrew's design. He was the real monster, hiding behind a charming smile. The dread I'd felt before was nothing compared to the terror now. I hadn't walked into a house with a crazy woman, I'd walked into a predator's lair, and he was coming home soon. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. Now I had to survive. Andrew returned, mask slipping, eyes cold and calculating. Now I saw the predator beneath the charm. Every word was a trap, every smile a weapon. He watched me, gathering information, assessing his prey. The house felt hostile, every shadow hiding his presence. Nina and I became silent allies, communicating with glances. We had to play our parts, her, the unhinged wife, me, the oblivious maid. One wrong move could be fatal. The fight for survival was a quiet war of wits. I had to gather evidence, find a way out for both of us. Andrew was always one step ahead, isolating us, trying to break us. He underestimated us. He didn't realize that in trying to replace one victim, he'd created an ally. The psychological struggle was immense, but we were united by fear and by hope. The perfect monster had made a mistake. We were ready to fight back, and this time, we wouldn't be alone. In the end, it came down to a choice, a brutal, life-altering choice. We fought back, not just for freedom but for our lives. The truth was messy, violent, and left scars you can't see. We survived, but survival comes at a cost. The experience changed me forever. How do you trust again after something like that? Every locked door, every act of kindness, now makes me pause. Evil doesn't always wear a scary mask. Sometimes it wears a charming smile. Nina tried to warn me by being cruel, a twisted act of kindness. The lines between victim and villain can blur until it's almost too late. So, I leave you with this. When your gut screams something's wrong, do you listen? Trust is fragile, easily broken, hard to repair. What would you have done in my shoes? Let's talk about it.